guys, I'm Jason Williams. I'm the managing editor of Wealth Daily, and today I'm back with another segment in our 5 in 5 series. So hopefully in 5 minutes or less, I'm gonna answer 5 questions that I've gotten. So let's go ahead and get started, shall we? First off, great question here. What is plug-in payouts? So plug-in payouts is a new income stream that a lot of you have heard me probably talking about in some of my other videos. It's basically a way that you can get paid every time an EV plugs in to charge up. There's a lot of government money out there trying to encourage the growth of the EV industry. And in order to do that, we need the infrastructure to support that. You know, there are millions of gas pumps throughout the US, but there are only a few thousand EV chargers. We need more of them. The government is helping companies put in more of them, and companies are going to be sharing that money with shareholders, and plug-in payouts is an income stream that I uncovered that helps you collect those payments. So that actually leads me right into another great question, which is, do you prefer REITs over dividends? Why or why not? And so first, that begs another little explanation of what is a REIT. So a REIT is a real estate investment trust, which is basically any publicly traded company that invests the majority of its assets are held in real estate, be that land, buildings, server farms. It can be just about any kind of real estate, but it has to be physical real estate. And these companies have to pay out 90% of their pre-tax income to shareholders in the form of distributions. So the REIT distributions are very similar to the dividends that bigger companies like, say, Apple, Nike, ExxonMobil pay. And those dividends are basically a share of the profits. If the company doesn't think that it can reinvest its profits in itself to the benefit of its shareholders, then it'll give that money back to the shareholders. And I've got to say that this is a tough question for me because I love both REITs and dividends. I just love income. You know, I like the idea of not having to go to work to earn a paycheck. And that's exactly what REIT distributions and corporate dividends do for you. But I think I'd have to choose REITs over dividend paying stocks just because, you know, dividend paying companies can choose not to pay a dividend. REITs by law have to pay you 90% of their pre-tax profits. If there is $1 in pre-tax profits, you have to get 90 cents of it and they get to keep 10. Question number 3, which is sort of a throwback to question number 1, do you think plug-in payouts will be bigger than prime profits? So again, this is one of those questions that requires a little bit of an explanation. Prime profits is another income stream that I uncovered 5 or 6 years ago at this point. And basically it's a way that regular investors, without owning a single share of Amazon stock, without having an Amazon Prime membership, without even shopping on Amazon.com, can share in Amazon's profits. But honestly, I think plug-in payouts is gonna be bigger because Amazon, you know, it's definitely cornered the e-commerce market here in the US. But, you know, when you get outside of the US, it's a little bit less competitive than some of the other companies. Whereas this plug-in payouts income stream, it's domestic, it's international, it's everywhere that there are gonna be electric vehicles, and there are gonna be electric vehicles everywhere. Analysts are projecting by 2040 that over 50% of the cars on the road, not just new cars being sold, but of all of the cars on the road, that 50% of those are gonna be electric by 2040. Some of them even project that happening by 2030. So that brings me to question number 4, what's your all-time favorite REIT? This is a tough one too because, man, there are a lot of great REITs out there. I always loved Realty Income. I call that, and they call themselves also, the monthly dividend company. They pay a distribution every single month without fail. It's been, like thousands of months since they missed a dividend payment. They raise their dividend every quarter, and it's been something like 20 or 30 years since they went a quarter without raising their dividend. And you love that monthly income. You know, it's nice to get a check every month. But I've got to say that, you know, that probably falls second to my all-time favorite, which was a cannabis-related REIT. So it was a company called Innovative Industrial Properties. It still is a company called Innovative Industrial Properties. And basically, Innovative Industrial, it's involved in the medical cannabis market, but it doesn't grow weed, it doesn't process weed, it doesn't sell weed, it doesn't touch the plants at all. What it does is it owns the real estate where cannabis companies grow their cannabis, where they process their cannabis. It even owns the real estate sometimes where they sell their cannabis, those dispensaries, those retail stores. And basically what it's been able to do is sort of act like a bank for the cannabis industry, where when a company wants to expand but can't access loans because cannabis is still federally illegal and banks won't lend to them, Innovative Industrial can come in and basically offer to buy their properties, give them a huge infusion of cash, plus add a little bit of a sweetener on there to, expand the properties, improve upon the properties, and then rent those properties right back to the person that sold them to them. It's definitely my all-time favorite. I invested in it, my wealth advisory subscribers invested in it, and we got in early and we really got to watch that dividend grow and grow and grow. And now our original shares, we're earning something like 40% a year, even if the stock doesn't move, just based on the dividends that we collect. So I gotta say Innovative Industrial is my all-time favorite. Realty Income coming in a close second. The final question, which is a tough one for any investor, is what's your worst investing mistake? Because none of us like to admit when we were wrong, but all of us are wrong. Often, and the trick with investing is just being right more often than you're wrong. I've been able to do that throughout my career, but I've definitely made some mistakes. And I would say that my worst investing mistake was letting emotion interfere with my investments. I always tell people to cut emotions out of it, but it's really hard because humans, we're not rational creatures. We're emotional. We get emotional about things. And sometimes you're invested in a stock, and this personally happened to me, where I just kept seeing the stock going up and up and up, and I was like, wow, this is great. These profits are never gonna end. This tree is just gonna keep growing all the way up to the sky. And the stock started to slide. And I was like, oh, it's just a little bit of a pullback, but it's probably gonna go back up. And I refused to sell it, because I was emotionally attached to that stock and to that company. And I didn't ask myself, Jason, would you buy this stock at this level? All I did was hope that other people would buy that stock at that level. And that was definitely my worst mistake. I watched a gigantic gain shrink to a much smaller gain. It was still a profitable trade, but instead of making 1,000%, I only made a few 100%. And a few 100% is still great, but 1,000% would have been better. So I've got to say that was my worst investing mistake. So those are my 5. If there's any other questions that you have for me or for any of my colleagues here at Angel Publishing, please comment below the video. Let us know what questions you'd like to have answered. I'd love to hear from you, and I'd love to answer your questions, but I have to know what your questions are in order to answer them. If you don't have any questions, all I ask is that you give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and click that bell to make sure that you're notified of when we post new commentary.